Hello and good morning. Welcome to the Nexus Report. My name is Tony Ray. I'm your community manager, and I have with me you want to be called Busy Bone now. I have Busy Bone here. He is a producer for WildStar. If we could just change his name card. He wanted to be called Busy Bone. I don't know why.
This must be the section you marked as banter. Also, you said in this, why do you continue to torture me? Were you not hugged enough as a child?
Yeah, I think that's what it was.
I got plenty of hugs. Also, you know, if you see me at a convention, I like hugs, so just hug it out with a brother.
Be careful if you see him at a convention, because he's really sick right now.
Yeah, I'm a little sick. Sorry
So,
about that.
if you don't want to get sick, don't hug.
Dude, what's going on today?
So today we've got all kinds of good stuff. We've got WildStar updates. We've got a ton of convention updates. I've got Gamescom and PAX coming up, and we've got the latest and greatest information on all of that. We've also got itemization talks with Joe Piepiora. Very excited about that. So if you have questions for Joe, please submit them in the Twitch chat. You can start doing it now. We're beginning to pull questions. We're only taking questions from Twitch chat, so get involved, get on Twitch chat, and start submitting those questions with Q, semicolon, then your question. All right? Right?
All right.
All right.
All right.
But first, most importantly, we've got a live ops update from Cougar.
He's this way.
I know, but you were going to do that. You got to do that.
Oh, wow. Sorry, man.
You failed. You failed. Yeah,
You were
I
pointing,
know.
though.
Seriously, I was like, Cougar, wow, Craig Turner, and then he was gonna roll in, and then the fireworks
Could
were
your
gonna go
intro
off.
be any longer? I kind of got things to do.
Oh my God! It was the 45 seconds.
Damn. Well, do it.
All
Do
right,
it, Craig. Go.
So what we got is, I think the biggest thing that everybody wants to know about is that whole thing about free Elder Gems ability point stuff that happened this morning. Once I talked about it, people were like, sorry, that was a hoax, man. It was totally a hoax. We didn't care, and we looked at it anyways because something like that is really important for us to investigate and make sure that it is or isn't happening. But in this case, it is actually a hoax. You know,
Yeah, for those of you that don't know what Craig is talking about, somebody had basically said that you could have access to ability points and amps for free.
zero, yeah.
So there was somebody saying like, you could stock on like 9 months worth of ability points and amps and
In the 15 minutes before the servers went back down. and-
everything is screwed, man. And so we looked into it. We had metrics and stuff like that. It doesn't look like that happened.
Yeah, and I know when I
that's good.
first responded this morning, it was just, hey, if you know it's going to happen, or if it happened, we're going to take care of people. It sounded more like a confirmation than it actually was, because realistically, if this was happening, then we're going to take care of it. Like, we don't let exploits of that nature go unanswered, and so we're going to address it. And so when I first jumped on social media this morning, saw all the feedback from everybody being panicked, that was sort of the tack I took. As people started getting in the office, we took some research, we actually looked. It's not happening, it's a hoax. It's okay that it wasn't happening, and it's okay that we spent the time researching it, because things of that nature are just super important for us to look at.
Should be reviewed.
So moving on from that, talking about the hot fix from last night, we tried to go out last night with about a dozen, I think it was 11 total fixes. When we brought the servers up, there was a memory stomp on the realm-wide server. Mem stomps are nasty. They usually don't get, QA can't find them because it's some weird combination of talents or guild perks or just population that we don't have in the QA environment. So it's unfortunate that that slipped out. We tried to fix it last night for a couple hours, but mem stomps are some of the nastiest types of bugs that our engineers can address. And so we couldn't quite do it in the time frame. So we went and reverted the patch back to what was existed before the hotfix. We're still going to try to get those things out this week. I posted on the forums that we've got one thing that has to happen today, because we've got Gamescom items that are going to go out for people that are lucky enough to visit us at Gamescom Twitch booth, right?
Yeah, I'll go into full
Okay.
details about that a little bit later.
So we'll have stuff for Gamescom. We need to put that in the build though, because it's not actually out on live. So we will have to take downtime again tonight to at least put the Gamescom items in there. If we can fix the underlying mem stomp today before, then we'll put the hot fix out back in full today. But if for some reason, because the mem stomp's a pain in the butt, if we can't get that fixed today, then we might have to take a third downtime this week. I don't like doing that. We're past the point that we take 3 downtimes in a week, so I'm hoping to leave it to 2. But when I came over here to do the live stream, we hadn't quite got on top of that issue, so I don't know where it stands. Hopefully we can get all that fixed up today. Hopefully we only have to take 2 downtimes this week. It's an outside chance we'll take 3. But we definitely will be going down at some point today, hopefully at the usual 0030 PDT, in order to get the Gamescom stuff up there. The other really big issue right now is our emails are starting to bounce or not getting to some of our Outlook email providers, notably the Microsoft email providers, the Hotmail, Outlook.com, Live.com, those email addresses. I'm not going to go too much into it because this is where we start talking about bad guys doing bad things and our preventative measures against those bad guys and the bad things. But what's happening by and large is that we're getting tricked as spammers because of things that the bad guys are doing. So we're combating the bad guys right now. We're trying to put in corrective measures. We fixed it at least 3 times since we've gotten reports that it's happened. Each of those times has given us a temporary reprieve where the emails are getting out. So these would be your forum or your account IP verification emails. So right now they're currently blocked, I believe, by Hotmail and Outlook. We're trying to fix it. We've got a new tack that we're going to try to do. So hopefully this time tomorrow we should have a better long-term solution in place. But again, I don't want to get into it too much. Bad guys are doing bad stuff, but we're working on it on a daily, hourly basis to try to make sure that those emails get out to you guys. It's important that if you want to change your account or you want to post on the forums, that you're getting the IP verification emails that we're trying to send to you. So we're trying to get on top of that, and we are a little bit behind because the bad guys are doing bad stuff. One thing that I'll talk briefly about, which is sort of related to bad guys, there's a lot of flack about Carbine's not banning people for doing bad things. Well, that's not the case. We are banning people for doing bad things, but there's one that's pretty obvious right now that is hard for us to aggressively action, and that's the multiple triggering of the on-crit abilities. You know, it's the Atomize bug or some of the other abilities like that. Our stance generally, and this is a generalization that I don't want anybody to hold us to the line of, but if it's accidental for the players to do it in-game, then we don't come down as hard as we otherwise could. For example, if this Elder Gem point was 0 and people just bought, 9 months worth of free Elder Gems, you can't accidentally do that. You have to do that with intent. I think the analogy I always use is, if you open your front door and there's a duffel bag of free cash loaded with the paint because the paint exploded from the bank robbery, you just close the door and you don't take the free bag of cash. That's sort of the free Elder Gem-y stuff. The accidental, hard to prove intent of the on-crit bugs that are hitting PvP, we move a little bit softer on those because while there are people that are being bad and they're using it on purpose and they're trying to gain PvP rating and whatnot, we just have to move softer on that. So the people that say that we aren't doing anything, not necessarily true, especially on things that you're absolutely hacking, you're violating, you're doing things that you shouldn't be doing. But things where people could do something accidental, we tend to go a little bit softer. So if we're moving, if we're trying to fix the underlying issue, which is part of the hot fix that we're trying to get out, please give us a little bit of leeway on that, is because we don't want to get dolphins in the net, as we call it, if there's people that didn't know that they're using this bug versus the people that are. So it's a fine line, and it's hard to definitively prove that people are doing it on purpose when the bug is on our side of things. I know that's probably going to have a little bit more questions than need be.
That was great, though, man.
I may need to go into that afterwards, on Twitter or on the forums, or help you guys help me out. But generally speaking, that's just an overview of where we're at.
Right.
We need to get that hotfix back up and running. We want to get out today. The Gamescom hoax. I'm okay with the hoax. I'm okay with telling people that we were in action. We would fix it. If it was a problem, we would fix it. It's big. Yeah. It's big, right? Much like the crit bug right now, we're fixing it programmatically. We tried to fix it last night. It's slower than anybody would like because they're getting owned by a couple of bad people.
Sure.
Those bad people.
So at Cougar DC, if you want to talk to Craig on the Twitters.
Yep.
Cougar, thank you for coming
man,
by.
thanks.
Anytime.
We appreciate it.
All right.
Get out of here. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You needed one more.
exit.
I like
It was
that.
a good
I
exit.
like that.
All right.
I'm going to shove your chair out of there just so the viewers at home don't have to be bothered by an empty chair. Missing Cougar. We've got some updates, and then we're going to get straight to Joe Piepiora and all of your itemization questions. So please, once again, if you have itemization questions or if you're just tuning in, we're going to do some WildStar updates, take a short break, and then when we come back, Joe Piepiora will be sitting right here to my left.
The hot seat.
Literally the hot seat, because Cougar was just sitting there, so it's probably still going to be warm. Isn't that disgusting?
That was a little weird.
It's the worst.
Thanks.
So if you have your questions, post them in Twitch with the Q, semicolon, and then your question. It's easier for us to grab them that way. Okay, so Cougar talked a little bit about it. We've got Gamescom starting this week.
Yeah.
Very excited. We're not going.
Yeah, so Gamescom is in Germany, if you don't know. It is in Cologne, Germany, and there is a huge, probably the biggest video game
I think it is the
convention,
biggest. I think it's the biggest.
in the world. It is gigantic. And while you're there, there's pretty much every video game in existence, but we're going to be at the Twitch booth.
That's right.
With ArenaNet, who make Guild Wars 2 as well, and they're an NCSoft product. So there's a lot of stuff going on. So
A lot of stuff, yeah.
what's the deal?
If you're going, we're going to be at the Twitch booth, which is located in Hall 9. There's like 9 halls to this
Dude,
thing.
it's so huge.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
I think it goes up to 16 halls. I think
there's a bunch.
Anyway, we're in Hall 9. We're going to be at the Twitch booth. We are streaming with on the Twitch booth every single flippin' day. Every day. There's a full schedule on the website. Go to wildstar-online.com, and under the news section, we have a full detailed Gamescom post. That way you can check it out. You're going to get first looks into Protostar Games, the new dungeon. You're going to get a first look into the Defile. You're going to have devs playing players. It's going to be
it'll be a PvP live stream where the devs will be playing contestants or people that are just kind of at the show.
Yeah.
And it'll be interesting. It'll be the guys you saw last week or the week before last playing against me. So if Ackley's playing, people are just going to get owned.
Yeah.
So.
Or even if I were playing, people would get owned because if you don't recall, beat you. I beat you.
Technicality.
Also, the coolest thing about Gamescom are Gamescom codes.
Yeah.
Yes. We've got the fancy pants, top hat, and monocle. We've got the unique Gamescom die.
Yep.
We've got the Imperium housing decor item.
Yes.
Very cool. And a unique in-game title, the Showstopper.
So
Those are for people that are going to Gamescom.
Right.
And so if you're not going to Gamescom, that is unfortunate.
Yeah.
As if there was only something we could do about it.
If there was only something we could do, Tony.
Tune into next week's streams. Teaser.
That's how you get it. You don't even have to go to Cologne, Germany.
We're the worst at hitting things. We're so bad at
What it
hitting
means is
things.
tune in next time. Maybe you get one.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Get one what?
Maybe a code.
No, you're supposed to say what? And I was going to say exactly. Moving on, we have PAX coming up as well in a couple weeks. PAX, we are having our meetup the 29th. That's the Friday before, the Friday night, the first day of PAX. We are going to be at the Parlor in Seattle. We just announced that. Our location, we finally locked that down. So we'll be at the Parlor. It's going to be a cool bar. First 120 people in, get drink tickets.
Yes.
After that, we're going to have to hold people at the door until people leave. So get there early because we do have a max number of people we can allow in the bar.
We also have a costume contest going on for cosplayers. So if you're dressing up for WildStar stuff, you could win $500 for first place.
$500 for first place, $100 for second, and $50 for third place, plus a bunch of swag. So it's totally worth it.
Also, if you are under 21, get there before 10 p.m.
10 p.m. Yeah. From the event lasts from 7 to 11, and the bar just has a rule from after 10 o'clock. It's 21 and up.
Right.
So if you are under 21, you're more than welcome to come. You can still take part in the cosplay contest because the cosplay contest takes place at 9 p.m. So definitely still come if you're under 21 because we will have a place for you. You just have to leave by 10. You can't be there that last hour.
So you'll be there, I'll be there.
Yeah, Chad Moore,
Packing
Pappy.
Moore
Yeah.
will be there.
A bunch of other random devs because a lot of devs are going to PAX
Just randomly.
on their own,
Right.
And so they're of course they're going to want to come to the event. So you'll have a chance to talk to a lot of different devs, hang out, take pictures, and just kind of find out a little bit more about us
Yeah.
while drinking.
Hugs.
Oh yeah, hugs for everybody. I'm a for sure hugger. Anyway, so that is all of our updates for that. If you have any questions or anything, we have forum posts for the Gamescom meetup. We have the Gamescom event, the Gamescom booth live streams, and we have a forum post for the PAX event. And we're going to be updating constantly through social media. So follow all of us on all of our channels. When we come back, we're going to have Joe Piepiora and talking all about itemization. So please keep submitting your questions, Q, semicolon, then the question in the Twitch chat. And we're going to try.
Semicolon.
What did I say?
It's not semicolon.
Semicolon?
It's a colon.
Not just colon? Make sure to get your colons in the Twitch chat. We'll be right back.
T for teen. Damn right. Welcome to WildStar. This is DevSpeak. This disclaimer will self-destruct. Now, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, guess what? Guess what? It's time for player versus player! I'm so excited. We're dropping a bomb on your face. That bomb is Sabotage, AKA Drop 2, AKA Daggerstone Pass, a 15 versus 15 battleground with mounts. Boom. Here's the sitch. You have a base. Your enemy has a base. Protect your fusion core, destroy their fusion core. Win! Capture and hold uplinks throughout the map to call in periodic airstrikes on the enemy's core. Sounds simple, right? But you forgot my favorite part, bombs! Now what they tell me you're supposed to do is grab a bomb, take it to the enemy base, and use it on their fusion core. But what do I like to do? Full sabotage. Enemies protecting their uplink? I'm gonna stroll up in here and drop a little ticking time bomb. Sabotage. Oops, I just killed you. Why don't I take that bomb off your hands and drop it on your base? Sabotage. Oh, did you guys want this extra bomb? Only 2 seconds left, but it's a sabotage. Hey, friendly teammates, we should stick together. Oh no, sabotage. Oh, wait a second. Whoa, get away, get away! Sabotage. Let us know what you think. The devs are listening.
Hello and welcome back to the Nexus Report. We have the great almighty Joe Piepiora, lead game designer. How are you doing, buddy?
Pretty good.
Thank you. This is your second time on the stream?
Second time on the stream. Very excited to be back.
Yeah.
Your other title is Senior Beard, right?
That's correct, yeah.
Your beard is incredible.
Thank you very much.
Mine strives to be yours.
You get a long way to go.
All right, let's get into some questions.
Actually,
After
before we get too far into that, I actually have some things I want to talk about.
Sure.
So we've been reading a lot of feedback in the forums. We've been going through, going through Reddit, going through our official forums, just looking all around the internet, listening to live streams and such. And people have a lot of opinions, apparently, on itemization and systems in WildStar, and we definitely understand, and we're making some changes. So there's two things I want to talk about today that have kind of been hinted at in the forums and outlined some detail, but not entirely. So I want to talk about our Rune System revamp, and I want to talk about some changes we're making to the attunement process. So first up, the Rune System. So the prevailing feedback we received on the Rune System is that players like the ability to customize their gear, which is great. But what they're not a huge fan of is the amount of randomly assigned bonuses and slots on this gear. So there's a few things we're doing to kind of address this. The first is we're going to be tiering out the number of rune slots based on the quality and source of the item. So what that means is in the previous version of the system, a blue item could roll, let's say it could roll between 1 and 4 slots. There's a huge amount of variety and variance there. And it can be frustrating if you go through a dungeon or whatever and you get a blue item that is good, it's got good stats, everything on it, but then you look and you got the lowest number of runes available, and then you also got maybe a rune that you don't need. Maybe you got earth and you just absolutely don't need earth for anything. That didn't feel good. So what we're gonna be doing is saying, okay, from now on, those dungeon blues are gonna always have 3 rune slots on them. And they're gonna have random types in those 3 rune slots, but there are always gonna be 3. Now we're gonna be tiering this stuff out, like I said before, over the types of items and where they come from. So green items, for example, across the game, we're gonna have 1 rune slot for each.
Right.
Crafted blue items obtained from rep vendors and from other vendors, while world drop blue items, those will all have 2 rune slots automatically assigned. Blue items that are dropped from adventures, group content, those are gonna have 3 rune slots assigned automatically. And so on and so forth up the pipe. We'll be having an email, we'll have an email. We're sending an email out to all of the players about these changes. No, we're going to be putting a post on our official forums talking more about this so you guys can kind of read it and have it in a more digestible format. But, so we have that as one change that we're making. And now, obviously the next step is, players still have to deal with the fact that they're getting random types of runes on their gear, which, I'm at 50, I'm getting the same random stat gear or random type gear that you guys are getting. And we definitely understand some of the issues there. So one of the things we're going to be doing is we're going to be adding a new item that's available in game. What the item does is it allows you to re-roll 1 type on your item. And you can basically re-roll, so if you have 3 slots on an item, you could re-roll each slot once, and once only. Once you re-roll the item, it's re-roll that slot, it's gone. But what the re-roll allows you to do is you'll expend the item to re-roll the slot, and you'll get a choice of two new types that you could get, and you can never re-roll the first type that you had. So if you choose the first slot on an item, and it's got an earth type for the first rune, it might give you fusion and water for your choices. So you'll pick either fusion or water based on what you could use more, and then that'll get locked in, and that's your choice, and you move forward. So this is going to be a way for us to make sure that we don't want to create a world where players feel that the best way to play the game is to continually re-roll an item over and over and over and over again. We want to let you make a choice that feels good once, and after that, if you still aren't comfortable or happy with the item that you got, at that point you'll probably need to go back to the pool. You'll have to either buy that item again if it was an item that you purchased, or you'll have to go back to the piece of content that dropped the item and get it again. But we are trying to make revisions to make this a lot easier for you. So, in addition to those things, we're going to be adding the option for players to, well, not really an option. Items are going to have the ability to have a slot upgrade. So, when I was talking before about the that dungeon drop that has 3 slots automatically assigned, there's going to be a new item that drops in different types of content. PvP will have access to it, PvE will have access to it. This item can be used on an item, and it will unlock 1 additional slot on the item. You can only ever unlock 1 additional slot for content going up through purple items. And then purple and orange items can have the ability to have 2 slots unlocked.
Very
so
cool.
It gets a little more potent as time goes on.
Yeah.
So this will just let you extend the power of an item. So an entry-level crafted blue, like an Adventist weapon now or something, that will have 2 slots initially, but you can still get an item to unlock it to add the 3rd slot. Now, granted that a blue weapon that would drop in, Sanctuary of the Sword Maiden, that's going to come with 3 slots, and you can upgrade that to 4. So that's one of the changes that we're making to kind of create a little bit more of a divide between the crafted gear and the dropped gear. Because we hear multiple things, right? People don't want to see a huge nerf to crafting because they like the ability to move their stats around and do different things with that.
Right.
But at the same time, they don't want to go into dungeons and feel like they're not getting rewarded at all.
Sure.
So these are big changes. So what are we doing to players' current gear? Well, honestly, we're not doing anything to your current gear. We're not. If you have a blue item that's a craft item and it has 4 slots on it, we're not going to be reducing the number of slots that you have. All right. Likewise, if you have a item, or rather I should say, if you have an item from a dungeon piece of content and it has only 1 slot on it, you're going to have the ability to upgrade that item up to its maximum number of slots that the new plan allows for. So you can either go out and get a new item that will have the correct number of slots right away, or you can choose to just upgrade that because you like the 1 slot that you have. The reason we're doing it this way is because if we do anything else, we're going to touch everybody's items at once. And we thought ultimately it would be a better change to let players have to go and do the work to catch up to this system, as opposed to nerfing everyone's stuff down to our new levels.
Right.
So those are our rune slot plans right now. So
indeed. Now
very
you
excited.
also talked about attunement, and attunement has been something that a lot of people have been talking about, whether it's on the forums or whether we have Reddit or people making videos about it and talking about it that way.
Yeah.
So let's talk about attunement, what the problem has been perceived as, and what we're doing to address that stuff.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about what attunements are for those of you who are not familiar, which I'm sure is not a great number of people in our chat right now, but all the same. So the attunement process is something that unlocks when a player hits level 50. They obtain the Genesis key, and they begin to go on an attunement quest line attached to an item that will unlock the ability for them to enter the 20-player raid genetic archive, and then eventually the 40-player raid datascape. Now, initially we received a lot of positive feedback about the attunements being re-added to the game. We were very excited about them internally. When we were going through the process, we realized it was taking a long time to go through the entirety of the quest line, but feedback in the early times, was, in the early moments of it, were still very positive. Right. As we've gone through, we've had a chance to kind of look at data and read feedback. We see that players are kind of getting stuck at various points, and what we really want to do is make sure that we ease the transition from a player in group content moving into the 20-player raid content. Right. Because ultimately, I think a lot of players will look at WildStar and they'll see our raid videos, or they'll know of a friend who's doing raid content that really enjoys it, and right now our raid content seems to be doing very, very well. Yeah. They'll see these things and they'll be excited about getting invested in that stuff. But then they get to this point, maybe they missed the initial truckload of people that were going through the process, and now they feel like they're kind of stuck. So we're trying to make some changes to make it so the player will transition more easily into the new content. So what are some of the things that we're doing? First up, one of the biggest biggest things we've heard from feedback sent directly to us, some stuff in our forums and from Reddit, and then also from the data we've gathered from live servers, is that players are going to hit the dungeon step for silvers and kind of get a little stuck. You know, they hit a point where they don't know how to beat the timers in these spaces.
Right.
Now, we're reluctant to make vast changes to the timers because the timers exist for a reason. We want those dungeons to be really, really challenging. They're supposed to be in a group that knows how to do that content.
Right.
That's the goal, right? So we don't necessarily want to nerf silvers. So what we're going to be doing instead is we're taking the silver requirement and we're dropping that down to a bronze requirement. Now, the bronze requirement simply requires the players complete all the optional objectives inside a dungeon and then kill the boss. So if you can do that, it doesn't matter how many times your group wipes. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you miss a timer. It doesn't matter how fast you do it. You can take your time to learn the encounters and do things the right way, and you'll be able to go through and move past that step by going that way. Now, another big complaint we received is the step right now where you're killing world bosses. We're still investigating the things that we want to do with that. We have a couple solutions on the table, many of which have been offered up by players over and over again. So we are not. I'm not committing to the change that we're making right now because we haven't made our final decision, but we are going to be revising that step to make it easier for players to get through. So look forward to that soon. And again, we'll have another forum post talking about this pretty soon. You'll hear a lot more about what's going on. Lastly, when players finish the genetic archive step, which requires the players to kill Omna, who's the final boss in the 20-player genetic archives raid, there's a step requiring them to collect 300 primal partial patterns. These drop from veteran dungeon bosses, they drop from veteran adventure completions, they drop from raid bosses and genetic archives. So they're out there and players are trading them and they are collecting them, but it's a very significant number. You got to collect 300 of these things. It's really significant. Initially, before launch, just to kind of like peel the curtain back a little bit, initially before launch we had a version of this step that required players to collect 100 that came before the genetic archive step. So what we did based on feedback is we moved that step past genetic archives. Right. They still wanted to make it more difficult, so we made it more difficult. We made it collecting 300 assumed it would take a long time and to clear genetic archives in the first place. But now that we've seen that, we see guilds clearing. It's not that they're clearing it too quickly, but as guilds are getting into Datascape now and their rosters are changing as schedules change, right. We want to make sure that those guilds have the ability to continually recruit from the pool of players who are going through the Omni step more easily and get players keyed up into these new spaces. Guilds and raid groups in general are really important to us. These are small communities that are just critical to the success of the game in many ways. Not necessarily because they're hardcore or because they're completely the most difficult content, but because these are, when you play an online game, it's about playing with other people. We want to make sure that you don't feel compelled to not bring new players on board at any point because it's too difficult. Right. So what we're going to be doing is reducing the step from 300 primal partial patterns. I love that. I made that name too. 300 primal partial patterns down to 100 primal partial patterns. So it's going to be much, much easier for guilds to bring 1 or 2 new players on board at a time and absorb that primal partial pattern step.
Right.
So those are 2 of the things I outlined specifically that we're doing, and then a third thing that is coming online that you'll see that you will hear more about soon.
Yeah, definitely. So thank you for that.
That was huge. The people that usually transcribe this show, like a lot of people on Reddit and the forums transcribe the show. They're gonna have a hell of a time doing all of that. That was a great update. Thank you so much.
I speak very quickly. I apologize.
No, it was great. That was great.
Perfect, efficient talking. Yes. I like it. So let's get to some questions. This is from Drozer138. Will we ever see a day sky option for housing so it never gets dark? The context of this is you can purchase a day skylight or a sky option right now, but it has a day-night cycle, so he just wants a day all the time.
It's interesting that this came up because I've actually never heard this feedback before. So now that you said it, makes a lot of sense. I can talk to our teams about that and see about maybe getting included. Would we like day only and night only skies? I think that might be maybe something that people appreciate.
So, cool.
I see you get the easy one.
Yeah.
Iaxinus. Why are amp/ability points still so rare even after their fix? Getting the upgrades from Elder Gems was supposed to be the last resort. Has that stance changed?
So we're always looking at drop rates, particularly on the amp and ability tier points. This is a discussion we have inside the building on a pretty regular basis. I'm not going to say anything specific that we're doing right now, but we do have some stuff we're talking about making these a little more available for players. We have made some changes. There are a lot of these things dropping in game. We have data to support that. They just don't show up in the commodity exchange and auction house that often.
I have to bring this up because everybody and their mom that's a spell slinger always asks this.
Yeah.
Trigger fingers, is that increasing, decreasing, staying the same?
Yeah, of course. So, okay, so trigger fingers, just anecdotally, this is like we hear about this a lot in the forums. That's fair. Trigger fingers is a really valuable amp unlock. It was dropping at a rate that was similar to many other amps, but this one was being pretty much taken by every single spell singer on every server because everybody wants trigger fingers, and that's totally cool. We should understand that. We've made a lot of changes in the past. Basically, in the past 3 updates, we've made individual changes to trigger fingers. After our last change, I feel very confident where it's at right now. Anecdotally, on my server, trigger fingers has dropped from 30 plat down to 1 plat, so that feels like a pretty good transition right there for such a powerful amp. But in addition to that, we are going to be making one final change. I don't have a timeline for that. But basically right now, dungeon bosses have a 20% chance to drop a rare amp of any type when you go through and you complete them. Moving forward, we're making that a much, much higher % chance to drop the rare amp. So as a result, we'll see a lot more rare amps coming into the economy due to that change. So that's the one last thing we'll also
You hear that, spell slingers? Okay. All right, there it is.
There it is.
You can stop asking about it now.
No, they're not gonna.
It's still going to be asked. I'm telling you, that's the answer. So this is from Kaz and Strife. Will we be able to turn our housing plugs?
So this is tech that we are still working with. We do want players to be able to turn housing plugs in time. But there's a lot of things that go into making one of those plugs rotate.
It's a pretty complicated system.
It's not necessarily that it's complicated. There's a lot of moving pieces.
Right.
So basically imagine like a plug is a world, like an instance almost. It lives on some other map. And this plug gets pulled into your housing property when you build a plug, which is why there's that period where we have to block it off and you can't go onto it and stuff, because we're basically loading in that map on that one tile at that moment. When we make a turned tile, it needs to be a new map right now, which means that all work on that plug needs to be replicated 4 times, which means that any bug fixes that we need to make on that plug need to be replicated 4 times, which basically causes a lot of data bloat. So we're kind of playing around with it to make it a more smooth system for us to work with, to make sure that we don't introduce a litany of new issues as a result of adding this feature. But trust me, this is something the social team is very, 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 very passionate about. They definitely want to get this in.
From Jovax04, when can we expect interactable seats in housing? It really makes the difference for role-playing.
Patch 3.
There we go.
There you go.
It's from Apple Cider Mage. Hey, what's up, Apple Cider Mage?
Yeah.
Any new housing types besides the just racial houses and spaceships in the future?
So this is kind of an ongoing conversation with the art department. We kind of need to choose, pick and choose our requests pretty carefully. We like the idea of introducing new houses over time, particularly new racial houses, maybe new tiers of existing housing.
And Makari is something that we hear a lot about.
Yeah, Makari, more extra things we hear about on a regular basis. All these things take time and resources away from other things we're trying to do on social that are also pretty big and important. So right now, we would like to add more houses in time. We will, in time, add more houses, but it's not on our short-term list. You don't look for it in the next 6 updates, I'd say.
Right.
Maybe sometime after that, we'll be looking at maybe adding more housing types.
There was some feedback on, I think it actually might have been your last live stream where we did that, a lot of housing talk, on being able to take out that initial housing like plot development.
Right. And that is I guess the one exception to the rule now that you mention it. The one option we're going to be having is the not option, basically, which is going to be players be able to place a grate down kind of on the ground and be able to enter their house in that to give them more room on their housing plot to build as they choose. So you'll still have an interior, but it's going to be, it's going to give you just way more space in the landscape.
Right. Yeah. Oh, okay, cool.
So this is from One Riser. Any way to make the attunement attached to the account instead of every single character?
So it's an interesting suggestion. We are starting to talk about more account-driven stuff with WildStar. It's a
little bit more complicated.
It is more complicated than it sounds, particularly when you're dealing with 2 different factions of characters. And there's a number of reasons.
Servers.
Different servers. There's a number of things there. We have tools we can kind of leverage to make this work, but not in a clean way. So what we're trying to think of now is ways that we can make account-bound style features work more cleanly and clearly for players. So, is that the sort of thing we consider? That is the sort of thing that we would think about. But also, in the short term, some of the revisions we're making to the attunement process, I think, will make it a little less difficult to get through some of those steps.
Yeah, for sure.
It's from Void Zio. I think that's how you say it. Currently, PvP weapons are double greater than PvE weapons.
I think just greater is what it means.
Well, I mean, it's like 2 of them, so it's like double the greatness. Better than PvE weapons, even for PvE situations. Is there a possible scale down of their SP/AP?
Okay, so to clear some things up, the AP of the PvP weapons is still very high. You can't slot PvE runes into PvP weapons. You can only slot PvP runes into PvP weapons. So a lot of power comes from rune slots. So that's one thing that kind of helps make it up. Secondly, when you start getting into genetic archives and going through that content, you're going to start seeing powerful weapons. When you get towards the challenges of genetic archives, you're going to see much more powerful weapons. So I think when players look at the relative power of the PvP weapon versus the PvE weapons, when we set out and we kind of did the initial balance pass on weapon types across different types of gameplay, if we had made PvE weapons or crafted weapons too easy to obtain with too high an assault power, then all the PvPers would just be complaining that those weapons are more powerful and they should only be using those and they'd be ignoring all the other PvP stuff. In the world where we live right now, because players are just now getting into the more difficult content in genetic archives, they're just now getting used to downing Omna and all that kind of stuff. They're just now starting to see some of those weapons appear. So in time, things are going to kind of balance themselves out. But that's not really the question. The question is, are there other things that we can do to balance out the PvP weapon with adding more offense stat and moving along those lines? That is something that we're talking about. It's not something we pull the trigger on immediately. There are some things, and I'm gonna float this despite the fact that we haven't actually made a decision on it yet. But we kind of like the idea of maybe having an occasional piece here and there, something like maybe a weapon of that quality that would say it's going to scale some of its power, a percentage of its power based on your rating. So if you get an 1800 weapon and then you just tank your rating down to 1200, that weapon's going to be 30% less effective or something. So these are things we're thinking about. There's lots of ways that we can kind of we can slice this pig. It's a question of which one we decide to go with. So keep giving us feedback on the forums of things you'd like to see changed on that. We recognize the thing we need to kind of look at, but I also know that in time things are going to balance themselves out anyway, just naturally through item progression.
There we go. So this is from Gelden Yetich. Do you see preserving player skill in WildStar's telegraph-centric mechanics as more important than uber skill trumping loot?
This is a difficult question for me to answer, as I need to come at it from I'm really coming at it from the itemization perspective, right? So when it comes to reward planning, I want to make sure that, and a lot of the things I talked about with rune slots and the way that we're changing the distribution of some of those, a lot of the things I need to be thinking about is how do I make rewards feel valuable to players, And I think that in some ways there's more that we could be doing there to increase that feeling. Now, do I see preserving player skill in WildStar's telegraph-centric mechanics is more important than uber skill trumping loot? I think that if I was to take a step back from my role and look at WildStar as a whole as a designer, I'd say that we need to balance the two a lot. It would be really, really easy to say that as long as you dodge out of telegraphs and an encounter, there's no way you'll ever get hit, which means that you're never going to need mitigation or extra grit or additional assault power to get through an encounter. But we need some of those things as well. So really, it is a delicate balancing act. You can't just say, it's the only thing that's important about WildStar is being able to dodge telegraphs and being able to aim your telegraphs and being able to know encounters. Versus, the only thing that's important about WildStar is getting the best possible loot and standing in every telegraph and ignoring the mechanics of every encounter. It's really going to be, you need to have both of those things to make a successful game, I think. So I don't think either is more important. They're both equally important.
And now that you've done this on the live stream, you're definitely becoming a GIF. And I apologize.
Well, we'll see.
For what the internet's going to put in your hands.
Okay.
This is from Quipid's WildStar, I think that's what it is. When are you dropping customizable terrain for housing, like snow-covered grass or purple ground or Grimvault field? We get this feedback a lot, being able to change that
yep.
ground.
So all I can say right now is that we have a design and everything in place to make this work. This is something we've been talking about since before launch, actually, internally. Yeah. We don't have a specific drop date for it, but it is in the near term, not in the long term. So when I was talking before about new houses being 6 months out or something like that, this is before that. This is within 6 drops we're gonna have this this sort of feature available for housing. Because yeah, we get it all the time. People want to make like a White Veil style house with like snow all over the place. Yeah, the Grimvault is a great example of just like, you know, we want to take all these great Grimvault props of like all these like, you know, creepy pulsating eyeballs and stuff. We want to be able to spread out, make our own little creep infested terrain. Of course, we know we want those things. We want those things too.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're gonna try to get that out the door.
There you go. This is from Joe Donut, who does some great Photoshop work and submits it to us on Twitter.
Yes.
What is the reason for level requirements on trade skill and housing plot fab kits, sir?
So the reason is we didn't want players to simply create an alt, get them to 14, stick them on a housing property, and then that person's responsibility is nothing but like tiering up the best possible mineral tier for your existing other character, and then also taking a trade skill that augments some things that your other character does. We didn't want alts to become accessories of primary characters, so this is one of the small things we did to kind of push that as an idea. If we get a lot of feedback saying that people are really against these ideas, we would consider some revision. But honestly, there's more things I want to do with alts than letting them just sit on a property and AFK out most of the time and letting their primary character come by and just do everything on their property.
Right.
So yeah.
There you go.
Cool. And Joe Donut's got some fan art coming up in the upcoming weeks, so you can see some of his movie poster.
WildStar themed.
Yeah, WildStar themed movie posters. They're awesome.
Funny.
This is from Stalker Dance. Are we going to have like clean dye that removes dyed color, so might have original color back? Doesn't it sound like a Shaggy? Are we gonna have like clean dye, man? Okay.
I didn't get that, but okay.
No, I thought because he said like. I don't know. Poor Frost is sick. Please, I apologize for him coughing right into the mic.
So there's a mute button and I'm hitting it. It's just not working.
Sorry. All right. Listen, Stalker Dance. I'm gonna answer your question. Yes, we're gonna be adding a Bleach system to dyes soon. Actually, we're gonna be doing a lot of stuff to the whole costume system in the next 6 months. I think you'll probably see some stuff coming online. But the thing you need to understand about the way Bleach works and the way dyes work in WildStar is, so let's say you got an item as a quest drop, and it's a chest plate. Let's say you're a warrior. It's a green chest plate. Now that base chest plate the artwork for that might actually be gray or yellow or something, and then a designer went through and added green to that breastplate at the time that they created the item in the database. So basically, they said this is the existing artwork we're going to use. And then we're going to use our dye system and make it green when the player gets it, so it's a green piece of armor. So that when you get that item, and let's say you dye that green piece of armor red, and then you use bleach to go back to green, it's actually going to go back to yellow if it was a yellow chest piece initially. So those are things that we're going to need to make sure that we're messaging to players. But we're also making sure that bleaching is free, and you can still cancel out of it when you choose to bleach something if you don't like the color that you're bleaching it to. But yeah, that's definitely a thing that we want to make sure we get to players.
Awesome.
Cool. So this is from Unindel, who is on a WildStar podcast, or Twitchcast actually, Farhan Siddiqui. What's up, man? Can you explain how Elder Tiers work? There's no easy way to tell item level right now.
So yes, and I will explain how Elder Tiers work. Elder Tiers are 2, 3, and 4 level gaps that gear jumps up while you're going through progression. We use this term mostly internally, so I know that occasionally it gets brought up on the forums when maybe Jeff Talon makes a post or one of the Dungeon guys makes a post. But yeah, really, Elder Tiers is an internal term. And we realize that you guys don't have, players don't have a way to really quickly and easily determine the power level of an item when they're just kind of looking at it in brief. We're going to be adding effective item level as a tooltip on every item moving forward. And I think we're going to be seeing that probably in the next couple months. So it's already gone through approved. Now we just got to get into a patch and make sure it doesn't break anything. So it's just part of that process now. People like it when patches don't break things, I hear. So we'll just make sure we keep trying to do that.
I think that's pretty cool.
That's the prevalent thing, right?
Yeah, I'm a fan.
Right, so we're going to make sure that we take our time to do it right. But anyway, yeah, we're going to make sure that effective item level is going to be showing up on those things. So if an item is actually level 58, then you'll actually see it right on the item. So yeah, cool. But Elder Tiers, in the future, that's not even going to be a term that you guys are going to have to even worry about because you're going to have item level to actually look at.
Right.
This is from Brahms Balrathion. Will the drop rate of epic gear be increased in Dungeons and Adventures? The drop rate seems a little low, and it seems very likely that epics just won't drop.
So, probably not, is the answer to this question. We're pretty happy with the actual numbers we're getting on the number of epic items we're dropping inside these spaces. We are, however, talking about introducing ways to obtain some of these items outside of dungeon drops specifically, but I can't talk any more about that at this time.
Okay, there we go.
Fair enough.
So this is from Service Denied. Will you consider letting us give soulbound dies we receive to alts so they are not wasted or making them account bound?
So this goes back to my previous account bound question. So we do have a couple of, like, let's say if you're a deluxe owner right now, you get the Elden Gold and Elden Green dies. So we have the ability to do some of this, but again, it's not in a clear and concise way. We want to continue to look at account bound features and figure out ways that we can make that feel impactful and useful for players. So again, dies is a good example of the sort of thing we would consider adding to this sort of system.
Sure.
So in the future, it's possible, but right now, we don't have an exact plan at the moment.
Okay. So this is from Vile Knight. What's up, man? Any chance for PvP Elder Gem items since max level PvP grants Elder Gems? Thanks for all your hard work.
So
hey, thanks for that.
My expectation is no, we probably won't be going this direction. As we talk with the PvP team, we're always talking with the PvP team about prestige rewards. We kind of like keeping all the PvP rewards really on prestige for now.
Yeah.
Is it possible that we'd ever fold in a little bit of Elder Gem stuff? Maybe, but I mean, ultimately, I don't want PvPers to feel that their goal now is to fill an XP bar by going and doing daily quests.
Right, because that's not what they want to do.
Right, and that's not to say that we're not giving enough XP in battlegrounds or anything like that. But I don't want people to feel that there's. Let me back up for a moment. There's something out there called the burden of optimal play, and what that is essentially is a player sees something that they want. They figure out the fastest way to get that thing, and then that is the only thing that they do until they get the thing that they're looking for. And even if it's something that they don't, whether it's fun or not.
Yeah.
So if we say, and this, you can read this all the time on the forums, where people feel like they need to fill one bar or the other, whatever it is they're doing at the time.
Right.
So if I tell the PvPers, hey, look, if you want to go ahead and get some of the best PvP gear, or even any good PvP gear, I mean, let's just PvP gadgets, like anything at all. If I put those on the Elder Gem vendor, people will say, okay, the fast way to do this is I already have 500 prestige or whatever it is. Now I'm going to go do nothing but the daily quest hubs every day for a week until I have everything else I need. And I hate doing this, and I hate you, and I hate everything, and I hate these forums. And there's no reason for us to try to promote that. So we're going to just say probably not.
Hey, so
That's a good explanation.
this next one is from Shadowblades. What's up, buddy?
We're gonna need a star wipe.
Do we?
We're gonna need a star wipe.
We don't need a star wipe for that one. It's easy. You ready?
my
Here it
God.
comes. No star wipe.
Joe, is there a big picture roadmap for housing decor? My apologies for my voice, as I have a cold.
It actually helps. Wow, that is
Even
best,
more brutal?
This is the
Yeah,
best
that's
Shadow Blades
actually-
you've ever done.
I've never heard it before, but that was actually really impressive.
That was good.
What's the answer, Joe?
Oh, okay. Well, the answer is yes.
Exceptional.
Exceptional. This
That
is
was
from Dresden.
Should I really not go into any further detail on the high level?
I mean, look,
roadmap of-
if you have some further detail and
All right, yeah, okay. All right, so yes, there are definitely things that we're doing at a high level for housing. We definitely have plans that go out a long ways for housing. So when I was on the video podcast series show stopper thing that we have going on right now, yeah, I like that. Yes. When I was on the show last time, I talked a little bit about guild neighborhoods and how that's a thing that we're gonna be adding in the future. And I also mentioned that we had a smaller group housing system that we had in the works. Well, we do have it in the works. It is well underway. It's called Communities. And that is going to be for 5 players at a time. And they're going to have their own little sky map that's going to be able to be shared across all of them. And they can kind of decorate on their own properties and kind of connect things up. I've seen the artwork for it. We've got tests going for it. It looks really good. Once again, this is one of those things we're going to be bringing online soon. You know, it's definitely on our hot list, but not something we're doing like right away. Right. So we have lots of like big landmark moments for housing as we go out. Like housing is very, very productive in terms of things that are going on in the background. Now, when it comes to decor, which also got brought up, so I saw a question that I think just, I don't know if it got grabbed or not. But there's a question about like, you know, is there ever going to be the option to like dye decor? And we've played with that, and ultimately it doesn't look good because the way the decor is set up. Right. And to change the way that decor is set up right now to the way that art is done would be such a monumental task.
It'd be huge.
It'd be enormous.
Yeah.
Like I can't.
For reference, there's a way that we set up our characters so that they can receive dye on them, and so that's not a trivial task to do for an entire set of things that you can put. I mean, you've seen the list of stuff we have in housing. It's huge.
It's enormous.
So
Yeah, we have over
to-
1,200 items right now.
To set up those die ramps on those things would take a lot of time and effort. So yeah, and we don't want to put in something that's half-assed. Like you can
Right.
only die lamps, you know.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
just not
So,
cool.
so we did try some stuff out, and I think this is kind of funny to share. If I might even grab a screenshot at some point and put it on forums because it really is amusing. So we found the ability, we can tint things inside the editor at
tinting,
runtime.
yeah.
We could do prop tinting at runtime. So we could basically have an editor where a player will click on a table and then pick from a selection of like 16 different tints they could put on it. But ultimately, this just makes the thing look like a Lego block. So it doesn't look good, and there's no way for us to make it look good with that system. So in the future, this is like a really low priority for us because it's so difficult to do.
Right.
Active decor, though, is a thing the designers in that team are pursuing pretty aggressively. We have some very interesting plans for active decor in the future. And when we're talking about, it gets to a point where when we're talking about housing, we're like, all right, so like, what is the next step for housing in WildStar? And we start looking at different titles, and we start thinking about housing in different ways, and kind of like taking it apart and putting it back together, and like, what can we do to kind of change things up, like how we change things up with plugs and change things up with challenges and all that kind of stuff. And we have some very, very neat ideas, but I really want to devote some serious time to that when we want to unveil them. So,
That's great.
yes, we have a high level plan for all of these things, whether it's like about group housing or whether it's about the things we want to do with the core, but I don't want to talk about everything right now.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
So
We got time for one last question.
let's do two more. Let's do two more.
Two
and then
more,
we'll-
all right.
we'll go.
Yeah.
Okay. Just, supersede me right now.
I'll just look. I'm just saying.
No, it's fine.
There's
Let's
two
do
more.
three
Let's-
more.
let's do two.
Screw it. So this question's from Eltonin Z. Sorry, we get this question a lot. When can we see a barbershop or something akin to change characters' hair, features, eye color, etc. in game?
After you've made your call already on this. Yeah.
This is something we are investigating right now, actually. So, recustomization for characters is something we want the stylists to be able to do in cities, and we're actually thinking about maybe even adding more stylists throughout the game world as well to kind of accommodate this. So, we love the idea of being able to let a character go back to the menu and change the bridge of their nose and get a new hairstyle or change their eye color, change their skin color, do all of those things. So we're actively investigating it right now. We've got an engineer looking at it actually this week, looking at it. So it doesn't mean it's going to be coming online soon. It's going to take a long time to get a feature of that size online. But yeah, trust us, we've heard you. We definitely agree. This has always been a feature we plan to bring online. Now's a good time for us to start working on it.
Awesome. You want to ask the last
Sure.
question?
So this is from Dresden. Crafted CW4 adventure weapons have different specials. In terms of DPS, only engineers and warriors get the impact special, which makes the other classes' specials obsolete. Is there any other way to balance this?
So when it comes to special balancing, this is actually, you guys had Hugh Shelton on last week, right?
We did.
Yeah.
So the combat team and the class team, those are the guys that actually do a lot of the balancing for the item specials themselves, because they have to take everything into account when they're actually making all of the classes themselves.
Right.
So we talk about item specials on a pretty regular basis. Now we're looking at a lot of itemization tasks this milestone, which is internally we're working on things right now this month. And item specials is at the top of that list. The classes is looking into these things and trying to find ways to kind of create more parity between some of these item specials. And we look forward to updating those items as soon as we have new stuff to put on them.
There we go.
Perfect. Hey, we got 2 questions in,
Just want to get that last one.
and we almost have enough time for some fan art. We have got a brand new. First of all, thank you so much for all of those updates. Look, I like this high five. Yeah, don't
That was
shake his
not a
hand.
high five. That's true.
I mean, what did I say? Did I have just
You
have
said
a
you like
stroke
this.
right now?
You like this high five.
High five. In my country, we call it weird things. Don't patronize me. Thank you seriously for all those updates. I know the community. I mean, they were talking about how much they loved you this whole Twitch chat. I know
I'm
you
sure.
couldn't see it.
I'm sure. I couldn't say it, but I'm sure.
There's a lot of beard love.
Hey.
Yeah.
Love you guys too.
Oh.
Please keep sending your insightful and direct feedback, and I do mean that. Sometimes we do get stuff that's obviously really trolly and difficult to kind of take the important bits out of.
Yeah.
But when we get big, concise, when I get a report from someone on the forums, it's 2 pages long and calls out things in bullet points, I read those. Everybody reads those.
Yeah.
So please, the devs are listening. We don't talk as much because we're incredibly busy trying to work on things, but we are reading stuff all the time.
Yeah.
We are reading stuff, and also, if you do want to provide feedback, not being a dick, huge
Always
thing.
helps.
I'm just
Always
saying.
helps.
I'm just saying. It's
No
so
Nerf
much.
gun. No Nerf gun.
He's right.
No, I'm
is
completely
right.
accurate.
No, you
the
are.
other thing is if you want to provide non-hyperbolic feedback, we are totally open to listening to it. But if you're like, you guys have ruined the world, you were supposed to save humanity, and now I hate everyone, boo. then we're just gonna move on to that. So I'm just saying.
No, yeah, I know. You're always just saying.
I know.
Don't be a dick.
Bitter frost is bitter.
Okay.
Sorry.
We've got some brand new fan art. We've got a new cover image for our fan art made by Adrian Marquez. You saw that last week. But now I sang a song with that fan art.
You did.
And Tadamichi created that song in real life with instruments. Take it away. Oh, yeah. Huh? Right? We're faking because we couldn't hear it, but I heard it, and it's great. It's the exact same tune that I sang. They made it with instruments.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
So thank you very much, Tadamichi. It makes for the perfect intro to our new fan art segment. We're actually coming together like a professional stream. Look at us. We're big boys now. Our first piece is from Mary Anna Bowen. Mary Anna Bowen. Aww. That was good.
So yeah, it wasn't even planned. That was good. That is adorable.
It really is.
I like it because male Orin are short.
Yeah.
Apparently.
Get manhandled.
Next piece is from Chronomorph. Chronomorph.
Dude, that is
pretty slick.
That's an action pose right there.
Yeah, I like it.
It looks like it's in slow motion.
Yeah.
Or no motion, because it's not moving. But I mean, it looks like it looks like the slow down 300 sort of thing.
The guy's name is Chronomorph.
Chronomorph. Makes sense. That's a good Macari name. Yeah.
Next piece is from Dust Brother.
Badass.
Oh yeah. I'm getting some Macari love.
That's a good metallic kind of feel right there.
Yeah, definitely.
Using that
I
shiny.
get like a T2000 vibe from that too. It's awesome.
Yeah. Badass.
Last piece is from Mark Henry Bustamante. Mark Henry Bustamante.
That's
cool.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That is a rad anime-looking Orin that is taking out everyone.
Gracias, Frost. I enjoy doing WildStar fan art in my free time.
Why?
You think that's
I am Mark Henry Bustamante.
No, go ahead and shoot him.
What? Ow! Why? Why would I get shoved? His last name's Bustamante. He probably loves that. It's probably exactly.
I'm sure he loves it. He's like, oh, please stereotype me. I'm a really good artist.
Bustamante.
And I made a rad image for you guys.
I make rad art.
Stereotype me, please. That is.
Ow!
That was
Two
awesome.
shots?
That was, dude, double tap. You know what I mean? Make sure, put down.
This is BS. It has come time for one of our favorite parts of the show. It's all together. It is time for the epic moment of the week. That was close. I like it. All right, this epic moment comes from I didn't put their name.
Wow, Tony is a professional.
I didn't put their
He's
damn
paid to do this on a regular basis.
Damn.
So here's what's happening though. This Esper has taken on 3 people in Sabotage, the brand new PvP map that we added maybe 2 weeks ago. He is, or she is defending themselves quite well against 3 people. He's getting the heals in. He's also staying a good distance away from these, looks like warriors and stalkers. And you'll notice there's a point actually when he kills one of them, and then one of the stalkers actually kind of goes into stealth to kind of avoid getting hit, and then he comes out of it, and then bam. But that healing that he's doing, we call it Rainbow Deer internally, is a good move to not only get out of the way, but heal yourself a little bit. But it's all about the distance with the Esper, and we just had some changes too. You'll notice that a lot of these abilities are now mobile. They weren't, about 2 weeks ago, they were not mobile that you could cast. But now they are. And look at this, he's looking for that last stalker, or she is looking for that last stalker. Bam, there he is. But you know what? You're about to get wrecked.
Oh!
By this Esper. Boom, look at that
Boom.
finisher. That was well done.
That was Dan Dome. Dan, I apologize. I had quickly pulled up my email.
You caught it. You caught it.
Yeah.
You made up for it in the end. It's fine.
I apologize, Dan.
All is forgiven.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Well, that is our show for the day. Once again, follow us on all of our social channels and go to our news segment if you'd like all that information about our live streams. They're going to be happening every single day of Gamescom this week. So yeah, check that out, wildstar-online.com. Go to the news segment, find all the information about Gamescom, because you're going to want to tune into those live streams, especially if you can't make it to Gamescom. And if you're going to Gamescom and you get some action on those sweet Gamescom codes and those exclusive items, those are going to be a good time. Those are going to be a good time. And once again, if you want any of those codes, tune in next week.
Where they'll give you codes.
Damn it, Joe. Damn it. We'll see you next week. Thank you guys for tuning in.
I thought it was implied.
No, you can't say it. It's supposed to be like a...
I don't believe it. Planet Nexus now lies before us.
We're approaching the Elven facility. Cambot 1, Cambot 2. You getting this?
Our work on this planet is something greater. It is something truly divine.
We shall reveal the ancient secrets of Nexus.
Ever get a feeling something's seriously wrong?
This is not good. Not good at all. By the gods, you are beautiful.
I will show you what true power is. Soon.